and my partner in crime, Scott, here. And if you guys have questions along the way, you can feel free to type them at any time during the during the webinar, and they might get answered along the way. So Scott is going to be going through them and just taking a look at them too. This isn't going to be anything political. We're not going to get into politics or mask wearing or any of that. So I'm staying really apolitical on this. It's really so you guys know what is going on with schooling and your school choices and what's available for different school options. So whether you're doing homeschooling or you're schooling at home, I'm here to talk about all of that tonight. So my family and my background, you have my husband, Scott, he's an Army veteran, and myself, we've been married for 12 years, and then we have our oldest, Munchie, who's 10, our daughter Giggles, who's 8, and our Dimples, who's almost 7. Those aren't actually their given names. People have asked me, and I'm like, no, that's not actually their real names. We're originally from Connecticut, and I graduated with a bachelor's in psychology and a minor in early education and communication. I've worked in the juvenile court system, and I was a store manager at Target for a while, and then I was a mom and a veteran wife, so or a wife of a veteran, you could say. I never thought I'd be a homeschooling mom. My oldest went to a preschool in Connecticut, and I just never thought that it would be something that we would really do. But I saw kids playing in a park one day in the middle of the school day, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. What are they doing? What are they all about? And so I started to ask questions. The people were very friendly, and after a while, I took a look at what my son was learning in preschool, and I was paying for him to take naps at school. And I thought, well, I have 2 little ones at home. Maybe I could try the homeschooling thing. So I thought I would homeschool forever, and then I had a brain infection in 2018 in September, and then I ended up in the hospital with epilepsy, and that was a huge issue, and we had to put our kids into the public school. So, we got to see both public schooling and homeschooling for our kids. My husband and I both went to public school, so we saw that from our firsthand, but from our kids, we got to see how the public school works and then homeschooling too. By November 2019, I was feeling better and I wanted to go back to homeschooling, but we thought we would let our kids finish out the school year so they could finish out with their friends. But obviously COVID had other plans. So when everything went online, we took them out and we decided to do the homeschool traditionally. So that's a little bit about myself. So I think one of the important things to realize is what the difference is between homeschooling and schooling at home. There actually is a legal definition of homeschooling, and you can see the Arizona statutes that homeschool means a non-public school conducted primarily by the parent, guardian, or other person who has custody of the child, or non-in-public instruction to be provided in the child's home. And you need to sign the affidavit of intent to homeschool. So that piece of paper, it's one piece of paper, and it is with your child's birth certificate. You bring it into the county that you live in, and you sign it once when the child is 6 years of age. You don't need to do it before. And you just say, I'm going to homeschool my child. They say, okay, and you're done. If you move counties, you need to have that updated. If you put your child into a public or charter school and then pull them out again, you need to sign a new affidavit of intent to homeschool. Um, Public schooling and charters at home still use public funds, and there's no need to sign the affidavit. So we're going to get into the benefits of all the different types of schooling. So the benefits of public school online is everyone is accepted in your district. So there are 230 districts in Arizona, and you can find that out if you go to the Arizona Department of Education. There is open choice in Arizona. I don't know with the COVID situation if open choice is still available. And open choice means that you are able to apply to schools that are in different districts than you are districted for. So that's one thing to know about Arizona public schools if you are in Arizona. That might not work in other states if you're chiming in from other states. For public school, they are mandated to give you what you need, and that can be the basics. There's no cost other than taxes for the basics. So you could have to pay for sports or extra field trips, but for what you need, you do not have to pay anything. Transitioning back to your school will most likely be seamless if you do the online public schooling. So if you decide that your child is going to do the online public school for the district that you are districted in, and and you want them to go back to that school, your best bet is to do the public school online through the school that you're districted in. And school is set through the teachers and picked out for the students so that you do not have to come up with the curriculum. Benefits of charter schools. Online charter schools have their own systems. They are sometimes proprietary or signature online programs, and they do not always rely on free programs like some of the public schools have. They have done online before. So many of the charter schools in Arizona have been doing it for 10 years or more. The schoolwork is set and picked out for the students, so the parents do not have to pick out the curriculum. There's no need to fill out the affidavit of homeschooling. Taxes pay for the charter, and I have our asterisks next to that because there are a lot of additional fees sometimes to add a charter school, such as full day kindergarten is not necessarily included, so you might have to have additional fees for that. Online charter schools usually have a way for parents and students to connect virtually. They usually also have a streamlined process to connect with parents too. So that is a good benefit of charter schools that have already been established. Some of the charter schools that are buildings might already have a connection with an online school as well. So a lot of the building charters, the brick and mortar charters already have like a sister school that has an online charter. So one thing that's really important for you guys to know while I was looking at this, if you're looking at an online charter, you want to look at the accreditation for the charter schools. And this is one reason why I'm doing this webinar tonight, is because I am concerned that there's going to be a lot of interest in online charters and maybe some fly-by-night charter schools that are popping up. So you need to make sure that you are getting a school that has accreditation. So this is extremely important if you have a high schooler that wants to get a high school diploma, wants to go into the military, or wants to pursue a college education. So you want to look for the online accreditation for charter and even private schools too. So there's the advanced ED, so advanced ED with capital letters ED, performance accreditation. And so this performance accreditation is for public and private schools and systems, and that's for online again. And they have to meet certain standards and policies. So that's something to look for. Usually they have it right on their website if they are part of this advanced ED accreditation. You can also check accredited-schools-online.org, and you can also check the Arizona Department of Education or whatever state you are in to see if the school is accredited. So that's really important. And it's also important if you need to change schools, if you're maybe moving, if you're a military family and you're going to move from state to state. So super important to make sure that the charter school that you plan on attending is accredited. The benefits of private schools, generally smaller classes, higher academic standards. Parents can petition for things to be changed. The curriculum, they don't necessarily need to meet any state standards. There's a strong sense of community. There's a lot of alumni organizations for even undergraduate programs. Scholarships can be available. More funds may be available for students. And you also want to check on the accreditation of the schools, like I said in the last slide. There are different accreditation organizations also for the private schools. There's the Middle States Commissions on Colleges and Schools, New England Association of Schools and Colleges, Southern Association of Colleges and Schools, Council on Accreditation and School Improvement, Western Association of Schools and Colleges, and the Accrediting Commission for Schools, and there's also privateschoolreview.com. So I always say if you're going to private schools, that's a huge investment. So I always would say to check out a private school in person, or if it's an online school, you would want to speak to someone who's already been to that before you enroll, since it's a really big investment. The benefits of homeschooling, there's no need to keep attendance in Arizona. You can pick the curriculum and the days you want to do homeschooling, school year round or not, and there's just a lot of freedom. So I didn't put that in here, but if your child has a passion, you can really follow that passion. You aren't guided by certain things that you need to do, and this is generally in Arizona, but you really can kind of guide your own curriculum. I didn't put too much in detail if we have people coming from other states about what the curriculum needs are, but in Arizona, you really don't have too much that you have to follow through with. If you're in another state, you should really look up what the laws are on hslda.org so that you make sure that you are staying within the guidelines. So with anything of benefits, there's also drawbacks. So the drawbacks of public school online, not always on your schedule. If you've seen some of the schedules that are coming out for some of the schools, they are asking that kids sign in on the regular time, the regular school time to keep attendance. Tech crashes can keep students from learning. So last spring, or this past spring, a lot of schools were using Schoology, and unfortunately so was the whole rest of the country, and so Schoology kind of crashed. Students must do state testing. Zoom classes can become overwhelming and noisy. If you were sitting with your kids on any of the Zoom classes, mute was kind of optional. And I did put about the school choice, but I won't go over that too much. And then, of course, there's 230 school districts in Arizona. The drawbacks of charters and charters online, you do have to apply. And you would want to know if they are online only or are they in person. You have timeframes to do your work. Not all teachers are certified. They still have to do state testing, and they may have extra fees. Drawbacks of homeschooling. You do have to fill out that affidavit and send it in with your birth certificate to your county education office. There is no tax deduction unless you are in Illinois, Louisiana, or Minnesota. So I'll just clarify with that. And you would want to check out hslda.org for more clarification on that. You are totally responsible for coming up with your entire plan for educating your child. You might like that, or you might find that that's a drawback. It depends on the day for me. In high school, you need to make sure that your child has enough of the right courses to get that high school diploma. And you need to keep a record of this to go to college. You completely create the transcript. Now, this is also in Arizona, and a couple other states. So once again, you'd want to make sure you're following the state laws on that. And as I put, hslda.org has all the information for which states have that. And there's also stipend programs. So if that's something that you're interested in. Drawbacks of private schools. Well, let's just put it this way, price. Can we say price? The availability, there's not private schools everywhere. Staff is not always certified. Online options are not always available. They might not have special education programs. Limited sports or extracurriculars, and there's usually no tax break for enrolling your child in a private school unless ESA funds are used. And I'll go into ESA funds in a minute. In the United States, there are 34,576 private schools, and they enroll about 10% of all the pre-K through 12th grade students. And 78% of them attend, 78% of students attend religiously affiliated schools. So that's something to keep in mind. There are some tax deductions for private schools, but if you go to thebalance.com, you can find out some more information about that. There is a 529 savings plan that can be used, but you should talk to your CPA or tax consultant in your state, but there's no federal education credit. So I am not a lawyer and I am not a CPA. So talk to your specialist on that. And H&R Block suggests opening up an educational savings account. That's another ESA, just to get really confusing. And you can use these to pay for elementary and secondary education expenses. They grow tax-free. So, how are you feeling so far? Are you asking any questions? Okay, make sure you're asking questions. Scott's here waiting for people to ask some questions.
Q&A thing at the bottom.
Yes, and there's a Q&A thing at the bottom. And so if you have questions, please type away so that there's going to be plenty of time for questions later. So don't be shy, because if you have a question, someone else probably has it too. So the Empowerment Scholarship Account Program, that's the ESA. You might have heard it talked about in different groups that are going around in Arizona. And this is an Arizona thing, but other states do have a similar program. Not every single state, I believe it's 35 states have a similar program. So you have to opt out of the public school, and applicants can seek alternative services such as private schools, home-based education, tutoring, or therapies using state funds. But that means you cannot go to a public or charter school. There are a lot of requirements, and it is much more stringent than regular homeschooling. And the people who are eligible: preschool students and a K through 12 student with a disability, a student with a parent who is active duty military, a student with a parent who was killed in the line of duty, a student with a parent who is legally blind, deaf, or hard of hearing, a student who attends a D or F rated school, a student who resides within a Native American reservation, a student is a sibling or current or previous recipient, student was a ward of a court, and student was a previous ESA recipient. So, and then there's the website on the bottom that says all the eligibility requirements. So the ESA cannot provide advice or guidance to families regarding schools, programs, or service providers. So you can get the funds, but they won't tell you who to go and get them from. So you really have to get a good network of people together once you do get these funds to make sure that your funds are going towards the best use that they possibly can. The student must have attended public school the first 100 days the year prior before applying for the funding, or an online school, and must meet a reported hours. The exceptions are incoming kindergarten students, preschool students with a disability, and military. Kindergarten students need to be age 5 by September 1st. And if you are looking for grants, once again, HSLDA also gives out grants. So that is the ESA. It's a lot of information. People have been asking about IEPs. So IEPs are individual education plans, and I was on a talk earlier. Now, a lot of teachers do make plans for each child. However, this is a legal document, and I know a lot of teachers want to make plans for each child in their class. However, these are IEPs are for children with special needs, and usually a teacher, a social worker, a doctor will see that a child has the special needs and say, okay, we need to meet as a group in the school and come up with a specialized plan for the child. Now, if your child is going to a public school, your IEP should still be accommodated even if you're going online. So in Arizona, this is, I have a link up here. I'm not going to read the link, it's kind of long, but this is the guidance for during COVID. One of my readers did say it hasn't been updated in a couple days, and I know that. This is unfortunately not my request. I hope they update it soon. And then nationwide, there's another thing for your child's rights with an IEP. But I really think you should talk with your teachers first to see what can be done. And start there, and then go up the ladder to see what they can do to help you. And if your child is in the spectrum, there are great networks across the country and in the Phoenix area, but you are your child's best advocate when it comes to making sure that they get their needs met. So I know that there's also IEP mediators out there too. So, you know, I think you should also, you know, just start with the ladder, you know, start at the rungs of the ladder and work from, you know, your teacher, and then escalate as you need to. This is going to be kind of a wild ride for everyone. And the kids definitely need the help and should get the help. And just keep a lookout for everything you can. And there's people who do want to help. So now we go on to homeschooling. One of the biggest questions is, how do I choose a curriculum? So you can do all-in-one or pick and choose. So an all-in-one curriculum believes that your kids are all on the same grade level for math, reading, spelling, that it's all the same. It's good if you're starting at a younger level or your child is right on par. Many of the bigger companies have an assessment sheet so that you can take a look to see what level your children will be learning at. There's one website a lot of people like to go to, which is Kathy Duffy Reviews, and she has a lot of information about all-in-one homeschool systems. There's also study.com, which is an all online. There's My Father's World, Moving Beyond the Page, Easy Peasy, Bookshark, Sunlight. A lot of these are biblically based, some are not. A lot of companies started out being religious, so if that's not for you, just be aware they usually say that they're religiously based. They usually say that on the mission statement of the company's website. And then there's piecemeal curriculum. We do this in our home where we take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and we just kind of mix and mash it up. So we use Math UC, there's Spelling UC, there's Spectrum workbooks, McGraw-Hill has workbooks. There's Teachers Pay Teachers, which is a website, and you can download different worksheets. There's education.com. They have different worksheets. McGraw-Hill also makes workbooks. Evan Moore makes workbooks. There's just tons of different workbooks that you can get, and it has like and Kathy Duffy Reviews also has a lot of piecemeal homeschooling options too. How do I know if I'm teaching on grade level? This is a huge question I get a lot of the time. So I personally believe that mastery of information is important. So don't really worry so much about pushing your kids ahead if they aren't ready. This is the beauty of homeschooling. You can really make it personalized. The schools have to keep going, where homeschooling can be very customized. But if your child does end up going into the public school, they may have to do a placement exam. When our kids went into public school, they were in preschool, first grade, and third grade. They did not have to take a placement exam, but high school, they might have to take a placement exam. In some other schools, they may, and it also depends on what state you're in. So you might go, okay, maybe I want to see where they're doing. Totally understand that. So you can go to azed.gov and standards and practices. There's also corestandards.org. If your child is in high school, again, you need to keep a transcript. And you can Google these so that you can download them. Your child does not need to take standardized testing in Arizona if they're homeschooling, so that's a huge benefit. But you might be like, I want them to take a standardized test. And there are standardized tests you can take if you choose to. You can go to the Covenant Homeschool Resource Center. They have done different standardized testing. They don't do the AZ Merit, but they do other ones. And HSLDA also has that information. And I also put this on here about some recruiters for the military do not understand that under the homeschool laws that they can accept homeschoolers, but the kids still do have to take the entrance exams to get into the military. So I put that on here about testing. So you just want to throw that in there. And one other thing about high school transcripts, I really suggest that you keep that online and you have it backed up on the cloud, because you don't want to lose that and all the information. And when you're doing the high school transcript, you want to also make sure that you're keeping an eye on what they should have to get into college or into the military. So those are the good places to see how you're teaching on grade level. Check out the standards and practices of the state, and you can also check out different states if you want. I've done that as well. Co-ops. So co-ops are cooperatives. They're when parents come together to teach children or have someone else teach, but the parent is still the main teacher. I have joined an online co-op, but we have not formally been part of a cooperative. We've been part of social groups that have done PE classes and field trips. That's my experience with a co-op. Usually co-ops are in someone's home, a library, or a small public space. They may be a small agreed upon fee for supplies. I recommend first assessing your child's learning style and your teaching style before jumping into a co-op, because it is a really big commitment. And if you decide that homeschooling isn't for you and you want to go back to online schooling, people are depending on you to do the co-op. And so I think first checking out to make sure that homeschooling is for you is really, really important. So I've seen a lot of people saying, I want to join a co-op. I think the first thing to do is to take it slow and steady to see if homeschooling is the right thing for your family, and then move on to the co-op. So that's my personal advice on co-ops. Fun while homeschooling. Yes, you can have fun in the middle of all of this. So We personally love going on field trips when there's not a pandemic. We've done a ton of field trips. We love being outside. If you have followed my blog, we do a lot of outside stuff. When we can't be outside, we watch a lot of YouTube videos, like how it's made, how it works, and dirty jobs. And those are educational. We explore things that the kids want to learn and see. So, they talk about airplanes, and we'll go to the airport. They wanted to go on a cruise, so we went on a cruise. Oh wait, no, that was me. Okay. We join social groups. We go, we do vacations. We've gone with my husband on his trips, and then we've made it educational. We get involved with sports in different groups and the recreational sports leagues. We get to be closer with our family. We get to see grandparents more often. We get to be closer and have dinner together and lunch together and breakfast together. There's a lot of family time. Art, we get to find places to do art. Like we love going to Art with Me AZ in Surprise and doing artwork. PE, you can do dance, Tai Chi, baseball, ice skating, and more. And instead of usually in a sweaty gym class, you can learn languages online using Duolingo and Rosetta Stone, or through a native speaker using Zoom or other software. And you can find a local music lesson provider through Take Lessons. And we were doing that until, the pandemic. So AZ ICE has had lessons in the past. So there's karate studios that have had homeschool specials. So there's a ton of different things. You can find social groups through Facebook's Meetup, Nextdoor. So there's just a ton of different things you can do while you're homeschooling. So, and if your kids are just interested in life in general, I said we were going on a car ride the other day, and my kids saw Dust Devil, and we were like, oh, okay, let's explore that later. And it turned into a 2-hour discovery video session on tornadoes. So, and we had big discussions on that. So, when you're homeschooling, it's not just about talking about one little subject. You can explore everything about one subject. So sports, music, and socialization. In Arizona, children can try out for the school team that they are districted for. For music's a little wonky. If it's a competition band, then they can try out. If it's just a regular band, it's up to the school. Schools can choose whether or not they allow this, but there are homeschooling bands. Across the country, there are different homeschool groups for sports. So if your child has desires to go to a Division I or Division II college, they can join some of these groups. And and socialization is so important, and just to give kids the opportunity to hang out with friends. And our kids also hang out with their neighborhood friends too. So we don't just say, okay, you can only hang out with homeschoolers now. They have a mix of good friends all around. So with that, now it's your turn to ask some questions. And we have, my husband's going to change it over. So, am I well versed with ESAs and special needs? So I'm not too well versed with ESAs and special needs, but if you want to type in this is from BKR Smith, if you want to send me your email, then I can get you in touch with someone who is better able to answer some of your questions. So I do have a lot of people who may be able to answer your questions. We also have a question from Facebook. Will going to public school through distance learning still count as the 100 days necessary in a public school to qualify for ESA? I believe it will, because you're still going to the public school, you're still using the public school system, but that's something that you should probably just call up for the ESAs and check with them, but it should still qualify for that. Samantha asked, would you be willing to share what a homeschool schedule looks for like your family? That's fine. Usually and it changes for us for our schedule. So sometimes in the summer when it's not too hot, we will go outside for the first hour and kind of get out all the wiggles, and then we'll head back inside because we school year round, and then we'll do schoolwork for about 2 hours, and then the kids have pretty much the rest of the day. So our kids once again are 10, 8 and 7, and so they really only need to do 2 hours of schoolwork at max, and then we're done. But then we'll throw in extra things like art every once in a while. And that doesn't include us doing, their sports or their music lessons. But that's their reading, their writing and arithmetic. And, I have them doing Spanish, and I have them reading books. They have to read at night. So you might have heard them bopping upstairs. So they read before they go to bed for an hour. And so our schedule, we do have more of a set schedule, but some days we kind of make it a little bit looser than others. And some days, I could tell my kids are just not going to be really feeling it. They're going to be kind of rough. So we skip those days because it's not worth pushing through. And that's a good thing about homeschooling. If it looks like it's going to be a rough day, you can just say, you know what, today is not going to be the day. Does the homeschool affidavit count as opting out for the ESA? So if you are doing that homeschool affidavit, then you do not, if you do an ESA, then you are not doing the homeschool affidavit, Caitlin. I hope that makes sense. So if you are waiting to hear back about if you're eligible for an ESA, you can sign up for the homeschool affidavit while you're waiting for your ESA. I hope that makes sense. So you can kind of wait for that. I know right now that they're not accepting any more applications for a while because they got very overloaded. So you can still apply and have your homeschool affidavit right now, and then just wait, because I know a lot of people who have homeschooled, but then they have applied for an ESA after that. Do I do webinars on ESA? No, I am not a fully fledged person on ESAs, but I can hook you up with people who are more, this is from BK or Smith, just send me an email about that, and I can get you in touch with more people who know more than me about ESAs. I know the basics and maybe a little bit more. With homeschooling, should you keep a record of grades and such starting with kindergarten or just middle and high school? Really, Samantha, you don't really need to have any grades until high school. So that's a really good thing. If it makes you feel better to keep their grades, you can. I don't keep their grades at all. If your kids are interested in that, you can. We actually had that conversation with a bunch of other people, whether we keep grades or not, and most of us don't. My oldest, he's like, was it an A? Was it an A? And I said, it could be if you want it to be, but high school is really when you have to worry about that. Can I repeat some of the websites that review curriculum? Yeah, Kathy Duffy Reviews is the main one that I put on there. But if you, Jane, if you look up curriculum reviews, you can get a lot of different websites that have reviews. Kathy Duffy is known the best for her reviews because she does a ton of different reviews, but there are a lot of other people who do review curriculum. Yeah, Duffy. Michelle, yes, Duffy. It's Kathy, Duffy Reviews.
Thank you. Thank you for the email. I'll write that down, or I'll have my husband write that down. There's a great group on Facebook. Oh, considering ESA, it's called Arizona ESA Networking. There you go. BKR Smith. You can check out Arizona ESA Networking. So that's a Facebook group. So that might be good for you. Thank you, Jane. So that might answer some more of your questions about that. So that's Arizona ESA Networking. Samantha, lesson sites to get what? Oh, lesson plans. So yes, yeah, Kathy Duffy reviews. I get stuff from Math UC, Spelling UC. There's oh, now it's like a questions. We do Evan Moore does workbooks. McGraw-Hill, I'm like Tim McGraw-Hill, no, just McGraw-Hill. We have, goodness, there's Spectrum does workbooks. I'm trying to think of all of the things that we have. There's just a ton of different workbooks and stuff that you can find on Amazon. We do Spectrum, Evan Moore, McGraw-Hill. Why do you feel compelled to do what you're doing to help families? So thank you. I just know that there's a lot going on with people, and they really need some help. So I decided that I needed to throw myself into a project this week, and this is the project I threw myself into, and luckily my husband decided to join along and help me out right now. So I'm happy to do it. I had a lot of people who helped me, so I'm happy to help other people. Do a lot of the homeschooling extra activities offer discounts? A lot of them do. So if you ask if they have a homeschooling discount, they will offer them. With COVID, I'm not sure really how the homeschooling will offer discounts because a lot of places are struggling. But we also look at Groupon, and sometimes places are trying to get people in during the day. So a lot of places, if you get a good group in, they'll do a discount during the day. So that's always a good thing. So a couple of the local play places were doing discounts for a group of homeschoolers during the day. Art places were doing that. So you can usually find discounts if you are with a group, or you ask really, really nicely. You're welcome. You're welcome, Samantha. Are good schools online for, I don't know about good online schools, but you can do a lot of the reviews and see what the reviews are, because I'm sure that there are better schools online for kids with disabilities versus other ones, but I'm sure that there's some reviews out there that can help you with that. My daughter is supposed to start kindergarten, but I work mornings and no one will be able to help her on the computer during school hours. Would homeschooling be a better option, or does public school have different times to do online? Right now, a lot of the a lot of the schools are putting out very stringent times that kids have to be online if they are part of the public school system. Right now, I've seen that the public schools are saying that kids need to be online from 8:30 to 1 o'clock or so in order to be counted as present. So homeschooling might be a very good option. However, if your child is not 6, they do not have to legally be present in school. So that's another thing that you can think about. If your child is just 5, they actually do not have to be in school. If they are 6, then you would have to sign an affidavit of intent to homeschool. So, that's something to think about if you need to do that. So, that's a hard thing for working families to figure out. You can work with the school on that, but I'm guessing they're not going to have too much leniency unless they have a lot of parents who put up a fight. So homeschooling might be a good option for you. And homeschooling kindergarten, I did it with 3 of my kids, and it took about an hour a day. So, and they're above grade level and reading. So it doesn't really take that much. So, and you can still have a lot of fun. So I think that's all the questions we have. So I appreciate everyone coming here tonight and listening and asking questions. I hope this has been good for you and helpful for you. And it will be shared and be able to be replayed. So if you have people who have missed something or you want to replay it, you can also replay it. So if I didn't answer your question perfectly, you can go back and replay it as well. So thank you again for taking the time to spend with me tonight, and I appreciate it. Have a good one.